Altcoins to watch out for in 2023. Welcome to Debate Crypto. Welcome everybody to Debate Crypto's Magic Money Mondays here. We've got the one, the only Kelly Kellum coming up. What's going on, man? How you been?
I'm doing excellent. A lot of work, grinding, and just you know what? The charts are always fruitful if you know which way, or if you know strategies and plans to engage with it. So yeah, I'm excited to be on with you guys for the first time. I'm excited to dig in. We got a lot to
That's
talk
right.
about.
This is your first time. Dude, for whatever reason, I thought you had been on with us before.
I
Yes.
think just because we've done the various podcasts and stuff with My Crypto Answered, and I'm gonna have to have you guys over there on the BitLab Academy live stream as well. Always love what you guys do.
For sure. Thank you. Appreciate it. We got another first timer on the show today, Army Piper from Investing Bros. How you doing, man?
Brother, I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
Good, man. I'm excited to talk to you guys, right? Magic Money Mondays and TA Thursdays are, my favorite episodes of the week because we get to talk about macro stuff that's happening and how it's all affecting the cryptocurrency market. And, it's exciting, man. A lot of things are happening right now. And people need to be aware of, to be prepared for these different occasions and how it all affects in the markets because everything is interconnected one way or another.
Absolutely.
Yeah, guys. So if you guys are jumping in here, make sure you hit the likes. Make sure you share the live out to everybody you guys are listening right here. And if you're not following Kelly Callum or Army Piper, their links are down below. Make sure you go show them some love. Don't lack on the love, guys. Don't lack. We all love each other here in crypto. Make sure we support each other. So let's do a quick little market overwatch. I know the market has been kind of taking a step back here from last week. So let me share my screen here real quick. And we can take a quick little look at that. So let me share this. And as you guys can see here, the total market cap is down 2.5% today out, but we're still holding out 1.13 trillion. So that's good news. Bitcoin down 2%. Everything's down about 2 to 5%. BNB taking a little bit of a hit here with some of the Binance news coming out. Not looking too good for them right now. And, Cardano, everything else, like I said, 5 to 6%, 3%, give or take here. Not a big drop, but at the same time, lots of macro stuff is coming out, right? So in the macro aspect, if you guys haven't been paying attention, Russia, good old friends of China, is moving towards the yuan to make any type of settlement with Europe, South America, and Asia, I believe. And, that has led Saudi Arabia to jump into the mix with Iran. And, those guys aren't best of friends, but, the enemy of their enemy is their friend, apparently. And they're getting involved some way. So BRICS, this whole BRICS nation thing is starting to build. How do you guys feel about this type of news just coming out?
Well, I mean, I can say that it just kind of fits into this narrative of also everything going on with banking. We're seeing a large narrative shift with I don't want to say finally, but we are kind of finally at a place with Bitcoin, for instance, that there's enough, a decade plus with Bitcoin, having established its footing within the global economy and global financial sectors. And we're finally sort of facing this point in markets that Bitcoin was designed for. Bitcoin came out of the 2008 housing crisis and, absolute complete mismanagement of funds from traditional TradFi, as people call it. And we see the dollar has just, it kind of has put a stranglehold on a lot of other world governments and world economies, being the U.S. reserve currency, the DXY, the dollar index. And so now as we're having this happen, basically we're having inflation sort of, it's not just the US, but globally as well. But the US is just printing and printing. The only thing our dollar is backed by is guns. So I think the world is starting to see that I don't want to say there's another alternative, but there are alternatives. And the World War III, I would say, I don't know if we could say that on here, but I think World War III is not going to be one of those things that it's like troops we saw in World War II and World War I fought on the ground. I think we've been in the middle of this in a different sense with basically global trade and basically currency wars, cyber security, cyber threats, all these things tied together with the advent of also what's going on right now with banks sort of starting to cascade and fail based on failed monetary policy globally. And so I think a lot of what's happening right now actually has to do with just coordinated narrative, coordinated FUD narrative. Even today with the lawsuit against Binance, or last week, the day that I think it was the day of the FOMC meeting, the acknowledgement of the SEC Wells notice to Coinbase. They're just trying to they're trying to fight how perfect of an answer to the corrupt banking system that Bitcoin is by trying to throw FUD logs on the fire. But this market is just too resilient. If anything, I'm surprised it's holding up as well as it is, and I think it's very bullish still in the long term. So any dip right now, I'm looking at as opportunity.
Agreed, dude. I 100% agree that the crypto markets are more resilient than what Janet Yellen's been saying about the banking system. But Army Pop, I want to hear, I want to hear your thoughts on when you hear about Russia and the yuan and what the world reserve currency status could be for the U.S. in the future. How do you feel about that? What are your thoughts?
So, for viewers that don't know, I'm in the Army. I'm actually retiring right now. I'll be officially out of the Army on June 30th of this year. So, and I've done intel. That's been my field of expertise within the military. So, 12 years ago, I just talked to a military friend this morning that was going to pick up some stuff. And he said, "Hey, man, remember back 10 years ago when you said China and Russia, that's the focus? Well, here we are." And I said, "Yeah, but I didn't really think it was going to be a monetary war." And that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing a monetary war going on. China is trying to fight us on the economic level, which doesn't surprise me. It doesn't shock me, but I don't know what their end state would be on that, because at the end of the day, when you think about it, who's their number one consumer of their goods? The United States. So I don't know what their point is or where they're heading with this, but I think a lot of this stuff is just because we have Russia and Ukraine. There's a magnifying glass over there taking a look at it now. And anytime you have that magnifying glass anywhere on the planet, all of the stuff right around that area seems to be picked up in the picture and the scope. This type of stuff's been going on every day. Like, this is not the first time that Saudi Arabia and Iran had either a tiff or a friendship thing going. They've been off and on for decades. Just like China and Russia, they were doing joint military exercises 12 years ago, storming beaches together, and I'm like, that's anti-terrorism, counterterrorism training. I don't know when the last time you had to storm a beach for counterterrorism. So I just think a lot of it right now is FUD. It's like I said, the magnifying glass is in that region. So everything going on anywhere around that region or even related to it, 6 degrees of separation, right? 6 degrees of separation from Russia still counts as news today in the narrative. So I don't think much of it's going to come to be anything severe. And absolutely, I mean, when you look at the Dixie's down, and it's making lower highs and it's making lower lows. So just a lot of things just bringing it down, and crypto is going to be what rises to the top at the end of it all. So that's my stance on it. That's my understanding of the narrative and the agenda. And I just keep DCA, and every time the FUD brings it down is my opportunity. So
dude, 100% right. I completely agree. I do believe that at some point, with this currency war that we're seeing around the world, crypto is going to take the stage because it's the only thing that can be semi-neutral. So it's a loss for everybody. That's the way I see it. There, no government wants to give up power of the currency, but no government wants to lose to another government as well. So I think by introducing cryptocurrencies as some type of worldwide, world reserve currency or whatever it is that they use, I think that would be a neutral mutual loss for every government at the same time. And then it'll just be about who can stack the most, I guess. But those are just my thoughts. So
Look,
with that being, go ahead.
I just wanted to add on that as well. One of the things I think we forget here, especially in the U.S. I can't speak about the whole world, but especially in the U.S., we need to pull back. As patriotic as we can be, we need to pull back our arrogance a little bit And like we have sports, for instance, that no other country in the world will fight, and we'll declare ourselves world champions because we have this sport that 2 states won in a match on. But when you look at what's going on, like the reason I bring that up is when we think about liquidity within the markets, you look at this flip-flopping of China over the last 7 years, primarily mostly in the last about 5 years, of when crypto's legal, when it's not legal, and then very interestingly becomes illegal near tops when we're getting a lot of retail hype buyers here in the Western world. And then when the market gets down low and the US is basically they're starting to get to the point where we're positioning ourselves out of being in the best opportunity zone to really harness the power of blockchain and Bitcoin and crypto, while liquidity is starting to get printed before it is here in the US and China and Japan and other places in the world. So although we think things are so bad economically here, we can't understand why the markets are doing what they're doing. We are seeing the other half of the world injecting money into their economies, and also making broader sort of support for crypto and Bitcoin and blockchain. And so it's a very sort of interesting dynamic right now, trying to look at things historically while also having very different narrative shifts in terms of monetary policy between the Eastern and Western world. And I think if all of us as individual investors or traders, we need to be agnostic politically on all this, and we need to think literally about our own personal financial sovereignty and what is the assets or investment opportunities that we see and the likelihood of things developing in the future, and stop looking just at the M2 money supply and look at global liquidity, because we can see that I think this next run actually will probably be kicked off and more supported by Eastern economies getting into this than the West. And I really hope that, not to make this political in any way, but I would hope any world government would see that this is actually one of the most supportive things for the freedom of their people, and for the growth of their own sort of their own cultures and their own peoples. So I just would hope every individual would look at the opportunity that's before them. And I mean, it's a foregone conclusion to me that Bitcoin at minimum will succeed. It's just who's going to be on the right side of that first.
Dude, I couldn't agree with that more, right? Like that's exactly why we do these shows, is to to talk about possibilities, to talk about what is happening, not just in the altcoin market, right? Today we're talking about altcoins. Thursday we talk about Bitcoin and Ethereum, but altcoins. Bitcoin has been showing, like you said earlier, resilience against the markets with what is happening right now, right? The banking system, the liquidity crisis. So that proving its point, right? Everybody was worried about how Bitcoin would respond in a recession because they had never experienced one before. And I think it's been proving itself these past couple of years that it can keep up, and it can probably still outperform absolutely everything else out there. And being your own bank is always a better solution than having to depend on a third party to hold your money. So with that being said, not everyone can get into Bitcoin, right? A lot of people are priced out of Bitcoin. Yeah, you can hold some, but if we're talking about financial, freedom, some type of wealth that you can actually create, people have to focus a lot on the altcoins. And with that comes risk management, right? Super low caps are a whole lot more risky than some of the top big mid to top tier altcoins out there. So today's episodes, right, we're talking about altcoins. What altcoins are you guys seeing right now? And neither one of you can take this first. In your eyes, that is a good altcoin that is showing some resilience, that is showing some potential, that can keep up with Bitcoin and what is happening in this liquidity crisis right now.
Yeah, I'll throw it to Sergeant Piper first, or Colonel. I'm not sure which you were. One of them.
First Sergeant Piper. Appreciate it, Kelly. So yeah, I'm looking at quite a bit. I've actually diversified a lot. Good buddy of mine, Crux of Crypto. He helps out a lot with our show, Investing Bros, because I'm on there with Tim Warren every day and T-Shroom. So fantastic group of guys. And we've talked about this a lot. So some of the stuff that I've looked at diversifying into this cycle that I wasn't so much diversified into last cycle, I'm looking at, well, of course, Ethereum. I'm very heavy Ethereum, but if we're talking true alts, I don't know that you would put ETH in that category anymore.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a different beast now.
Sure is, absolutely. So yeah, I was very heavy ETH last cycle. This cycle, little bit less on the ETH heaviness. Now I'm looking at Near Protocol. I'm looking at Polygon Matic. I'm looking at basically touching on all like AGIX. I've got Mana and Gala, just because I don't know which one's going to do which on the gaming side. I went into let me see. Let me think here. I got a bunch. Arbitrum 1. I just bought a bunch of Arbitrum 1. I actually bought it at $1.25 a token when it hit Coinbase. I sold it when it hit $1.50 and broke out of its golden pocket. Turned around and started DCAing in this morning again, back with my money. So, but that one's going to be a long-term hold for me. I just didn't think that I wanted to play with that volatility on the trade side, because I'm a little bit of a degen Crusader. So
I see you got a chart pulled up off screen. You want to pull that on screen and show us what you got there?
Absolutely. I was looking earlier this morning at Arbitrum 1. So if I pull up Arbitrum here and I look at it on the hourly here, you can see I did an extended trend-based extension here. And what I did was I just pulled it from the high to the low, back to the high. And what I have when I do this is I hit these phases here, like phase 1 golden pocket, phase 2 golden pockets. When it hit the phase 1 golden pocket and started rejecting out of it is when I closed out at $1.50 on it. And then I just started running a trend regression tool on here just to see what we were picking up. I did see this morning that we were starting on the chart prime oscillator, starting to show that it was heavily in the bearish zone, or the bullish zone, I should say. And then we hit that momentum dot. Now I'm looking at dollar cost averaging right here. I got my alert set. I've got my trend lines auto printed on here. So I'm waiting for a nice break above there. But it's one of the things that I'm looking at. But XRP, let's talk XRP, because I'm very bullish on some XRP this year. I've actually been adding into a long trade on XRP pretty much since we got the Rising 3 method here. And so this is one of our auto printed candlestick patterns on Chart Prime. And once it bounced right here on the dynamic reactor, gave me the Rising 3 method. I went into a long right there when it got support on the 50% line of the fib. And I've just been riding this up. And I watched this morning, I said on Investing Bros this morning that if Bitcoin had a pullback, that we would be looking at the golden pocket. And so it made me, if I pull that up here real fast, just to show you, what I was looking at here on this was that this is called the predictive ranges. It's part of the smart money concept that we use. I was watching for it to bounce on here and it didn't. And when it did not bounce on it, I was like, okay, it's time for me to go jump in and look and see what's going on with the rest of the stuff. Oddly enough, Ethereum got a bounce on its golden pocket. XRP got its bounce. It came out of it a little bit and then pulled right back up into its golden pocket. So, yeah, I've been watching the golden pockets heavily along with the other indicators like the predictive ranges, the dynamic reactor, so on and so forth here, and just been seeing where the support's at. And I got to tell you, this stuff works on stocks, and I watch this stuff on stocks, and we fall right through these levels like it's nothing. The stock market is not holding a candle to the alt market and the crypto market as a whole right now. So
I got a quick question for you. So we're talking about XRP before we move on. And this goes for both of you guys. With XRP, right? Banking liquidity. We've been talking about this. All right. It's been happening for the past couple of weeks. Do either of you guys ever think that XRP will be that world reserve currency that the XRP army likes to think it will be the solution to the liquidity crisis, to SWIFT, to the entire money situation? What do you guys feel about when you hear that?
I don't think it's going to be a world reserve currency per se, but one of the things that I always found interesting is how, one, crypto ecosystem as a whole, I wish people would stop being so tribal. If we want to be tribal, let's be tribal about the entire crypto ecosystem, not projects within projects, right? I do think that in that sort of sense, though, I think XRP, and I spoke about this, as early as 2018, that, people are arguing about the lack of decentralization in XRP and the fact that it's basically has 1 foot in crypto, 1 foot in banking. But, when you think about investing and you think about basically safe bets and hedging what you're doing, to each his own. One, everybody's got to invest within their own principles of mind. But thinking about that, if there's, one crypto outside of Bitcoin, if there's a total calamity across the entire crypto ecosystem based on regulation and such, things get regulated out, for instance, I think XRP probably has a better chance than a lot of other crypto projects, crypto protocols, because of how heavily tied they are with also being integrated within banking systems. And we can see a lot of the infrastructure that they have essentially been integrated and they've already been building into a lot of the sort of traditional finance ecosystem. So the fact that it can operate basically on its own two legs as a crypto, but also is tied in and likely will, I don't want to say hopefully, but has a good chance of displacing or replacing a good proportion of the Swift network, I think actually, holds a lot of positive water for XRP. So that's sort of my position on it. And I think more than anything, even for people that do not hold XRP, I think it's going to be a very large sort of bellwether moment when the SEC decision finally comes down, when that's finally closed, because I think that's going to set a huge precedent, not only for XRP, but also either releasing the pressure on the crypto ecosystem in regards to what direction that regulation wind is going to shift, or putting the foot more heavily down on the throat of the crypto market. But either way, we need that decision. And I think XRP is likely going to sort of come out on the positive side of that.
Dude, those are great points. What are your thoughts, Piper, about the XRP situation?
So the ISO 20022, I think really lays out where XRP is going to be at, along with XLM, so on and so forth. I think that's where you're going to really see its usage is going to be the on-ramp and off-ramp of crypto into the fiat system. Because we're never going to get rid of the fiat system. I mean, it's a pipe dream. I would love to say that, but it's never going to happen. Governments aren't going to allow to not be able to control their national security through economy. It's a thing. But I do think that crypto and blockchain technology as a whole has a massive spot and a massive home in the finance system. And I think that you're going to see things like XRP being that on-ramp, off-ramp through the ISO 20022. Where I really see, a lot of that money on ramp. I see the highway is built, but the question that I still want to know is what's going to be the actual currency? And sadly, I hate to say it, it's probably going to be the overregulated CBDCs that most people rely on to get on and off of that highway built by things like XRP. So,
well, those are interesting thoughts. I'm not a big supporter of the XRP situation because of the banking system and all that stuff, but I see your points. I definitely think that XRP has tons of potential. Is it going to hit $589 at some point? I most likely think no, it's never going to hit those price points, but that's just me, right? Maybe I'm just an XRP hater. I don't know, right?
But hey, you know what, Crusader, to that point, and this goes back to what I was saying earlier, everybody has to be okay with the principles that they're investing with, and understand that other people have different principles. And so nobody's right or wrong. For instance, some people are absolute Bitcoin maximalists. More power to them. Some people are absolute only altcoins. More power to them. Some people love AVAX. Some people hate it. Some people love Atom. Some people love DOT. There's enough liquidity to go around. And the more all of us do, the shows like this, listen to different people, do different Twitter spaces, watch, learn, do our diligence, and form enough of a tool belt of understanding of the variety of different options that are out there. Each one of us can serve our own needs with the principles we want. And at the end, if we really think about it, the crypto ecosystem is as democratic as it comes because it's a market, it's a marketplace. And we can see where people are voting on their principles based on where they're investing their dollars. So, more power to anybody for whatever they're investing in. So long as my only argument towards that would be, so long that their principles are aligned with not just wanting to make dollars off that asset, but hopefully one of the principles everybody should have is, what is the utility and function of this asset that I'm investing in, and how is it bettering the whatever ecosystem that it's tied to? And that's one of the things with the altcoin market that I think a lot of people forget. They see different people touting different, whether it's Singularity or Atom or Ethereum or Cardano. It really doesn't matter. Name the asset, it doesn't matter. But look past just the dollars you can make, and even if there's no altruism in it, like you're going to give back to donate to charity or something. Think about, if you're investing in this project, what service and infrastructure and processes and elements of the world or the crypto ecosystem is it building towards? That's kind of what I like to look for. And like when speaking about altcoins specifically, when I'm looking into this next bull market, I'm not just seeing, okay, how far is this from all-time high? Maybe that's something I do look at, sure, but that's part of the ingredient tool belt that I also then look at. Okay, if we're building out a new if we're building out a new sort of alternative ecosystem, not only in the digital world that we're living in and we're growing into as a people and as a world culture, we have to think of blockchain as, I look at it like the Industrial Revolution. They came up with the railroad tracks and the train. Well, the Industrial Revolution that brought us to where we're at today, all was, the dominoes falling into place after the railroad, steel, and then the railroad, and then the railroad brought commerce and was able to make cities, people be able to live in different places because now you could transport goods. That also changed the kind of goods you could, so on and so forth. So looking into this next bull run and into the next 15 years, I'm looking at the railroad, the technological railroad revolution that we're going into, the digital revolution, and thinking about what infrastructure plays are going to support the growth going into this next 5 to 10 years, whether it be storage or gaming or the ISO 222 cross-border payment sort of stuff. Layer 2 solutions. There's so many options out there. So that's why I'm saying there's so many options. Why not find an option that fits within your ethos as well?
Dude, all I gotta say to that is this. Perfectly
Round
said.
of applause.
Perfectly said. I mean, it's 100% true, right? There's something for everybody in this space. Everyone has a different strategy. Everyone has a different, just a different goal in mind in total, and the different type of technology that they're bullish for. Some people are extremely bullish on metaverse stuff. Other people are extremely bullish on the financial sector, aka XRP and the banking system, what they're doing. Other people are in it for the play to earn. Other people are in for the NFTs, right? Everyone has a different reason to be here, and every reason is valid, and everyone can make, whether it's money or profit or whatever it is they're trying to do, they can in this space, because it's such an emerging space right now that it's like you said, right? It's the next industrial revolution. It's the beginning of a whole new asset class. It's the beginning of the greatest transfer of wealth, like most people have said, right? And everyone can make money out here in one way or another with their own strategies, with their own different viewpoints and assets.
I'll tell you what.
Go ahead.
And I'll tell you what. And I think both of you will agree with me. It is easier to stay involved with the charts. It's easier to follow the news. It's easier to participate this in the long term if you do find assets that are in some way tied to something that you care about. If you're just doing it for the dollars, it's very easy not to, you start losing interest in the news. You start losing interest of the developments of the chart. But if it's something, if you're really into gaming, don't just get Gala and get Vulcan Forge and get, get a number of different things, get Engine, get not only individual gaming projects, but also the rails that they're built on. Get
Illuvium.
things that
get Illuvium.
Yeah, get things that are within your sort of passion focus, and it becomes less work and it becomes a lot more enjoyable.
Dude, 100%. I just want to remind everybody, smash those likes if you haven't smashed the likes just yet. Make sure to go follow these guys. The description to their videos is down below in the description. So the next one is up, right? Kelly, I think you mentioned Algo or Ada. Which one of those you want to hit first?
We can look at both of them. Let's go ahead and dive into the chart here. First thing I just want to point out, we should always, I'm a really big proponent of, no matter what you're looking at, always remember macro, midterm, micro. And even on the individual assets themselves, the first macro you should look at is the index of the asset class you're looking at. So this is a total 3. This is all basically the altcoin market cap. And if we actually pull up some of the drawings I have on here, we can see that we have this massive downtrend. And so it feels so scary right now. Sometimes when, every time, the Bitcoin drops, you might get a larger drop in altcoins. And it's because they're smaller market caps, and the higher risk assets are going to be sold off first. And also it's easier for them to move because there's not as much liquidity. But we can see on this, I'm looking at the 3-day here, a couple year chart, and we see this sort of large inverted head and shoulders at play that's coming right up to where this it's basically fighting this downtrend resistance right here. Does this mean we're going to immediately break through and go to the upside? Not necessarily. Nothing ever is that easy, but we can be prepared. And so knowing that we have this setup, then we can come over and look at one of our other charts here. Let's look at Cardano first because it's larger. We could see again massive downtrend. Let's turn on the lines here. We could see just on the most basic TA here, from where we're at now to previous all-time high is basically nearly a 9x. It's over 890% increase from here. But we can't just trade just on that possibility, right? We could see that, but then we say, okay, well then what's the sort of structure that we're looking at here? And so we can kind of come in here, draw some lines. We see we've broken out of this trend line. We found support, and we could draw this in a number of different ways. But we're seeing that we're kind of fighting the same sort of moment that Bitcoin had, which I call it. It's like the $25,000 moment. The $25,000 moment on Bitcoin, where we had a lot of previous support coming into a lot of resistance, and we've bounced our head up against this a few times. And it's when we clear this zone right here, this 44-cent zone, that then we can kind of draw some more lines above us for some pit stops. But once we break the zone, I think that we're going to kind of slowly start to get off to the races. And even getting to this zone, this 44-cent zone alone is another 30% up. But that's going to be nothing in the scheme of things. Once we break this zone, then when we go zone to zone, from here to the next zone is another 32%. Okay, and then from here to the next zone is another 35%. So we've got a lot of big moves in store for Cardano once we start breaking out. And in addition to all this, we can see we've got an ascending sort of triangle here with the flat top here. We got this volume node above us. So we are setting up for something big with Cardano. Cardano really drives a lot of hate from people because sometimes it's so patient to break out. But it's almost like a metaphor for how patient they are with their development and how slow it may feel, because we do the wrong thing we do with assets, just like we do in life. We compare ourselves, whether it's ourselves or our assets, to other things. Comparison is the thief of joy, and in assets, comparison is the thief of profits. So we want to allow this to slowly develop and see that we are setting up for something great with Cardano. And I think $3, the previous all-time high is not going to be a big feat in this next bull market. I think we could see it realistically getting up into the $9 to $11 range, but more conservatively, let's just call it somewhere between the $5 to $7 range. And that's amazing. And when we come back to thinking about before we go to another chart, when we think about why we want to invest in certain things, we think about the fundamental analysis and the fundamental both quantitative and qualitative analysis. And we think about the development of the world and world economies. And Cardano, the IOHK and the Cardano Foundation, they have been pragmatically looking so far into the distance, so far into the future, and they've been aligning and building in one of the fastest growing economies in the world, which is Africa. And being that their infrastructure is so far behind the Western world, and if they're building now already this digital ecosystem and digital infrastructure and trust and awareness of what they're doing within Cardano and within that sort of large, fastly growing global economy, then that stands to be a lot to be gained going into the future, and a lot of liquidity support as this project develops over time. But that's what I'm seeing with Cardano.
Yeah, dude. I mean, with Cardano, I've said it before. Like, I'm not a TA expert. I don't trade like you guys do, know that. But with what I see just in the fundamentals of Cardano, right? Cardano previous all-time high was $3 and something, right? With basically no smart contracts, just nothing going on, right? A lot of development in the back end, but nothing had been released yet. No real building had been happening on Cardano just yet. Now we see the TVL going up. We see the NFT project, the NFT ecosystem being built on Cardano. We see everything that Cardano is doing, like you said, all the partnerships and things that are happening in Africa and in these other countries. There's no way. That was going to be a follow-up question for you, but you answered it, right? There's no way that I see, just from the fundamental aspect, a way of Cardano not breaking its previous all-time high with some level of ease. I just don't see how Cardano could not break $3 when it had with everything that has built, when before it had literally nothing built on it and it was just speculation, versus now it's a lot more fundamental and just a lot more money locked up on the blockchain. And you said conservatively be like about 5 to 7. And what was the other price points that you hit? You said something about like $11 or
Yeah,
something?
the $11 range. But here's a caveat. Like, so I'm thinking about this, and this is a deal with technical analysis. We have to be aware of our directional bias, and we can't just get so
Yep.
excited about looking at a previous cycle saying, oh man, that cycle got 13,000%, so this cycle is going to hit that also. So there's this idea that there's going to be diminishing returns in the crypto ecosystem as we move forward. But and I was talking with TJ, for those that don't know, I'm in the Hit Network team, working with the BitBoy Crypto team. I run BitLab Academy as well. And TJ and I were talking about, on the one hand, yes, there's going to be diminishing returns, probably going to be dominating the narrative in general for the next 20 years. However, I do think that, especially, I feel like this last bull market was a little bit truncated, a little bit shortened, a little bit of water was poured onto it. It didn't get to the highs that, and I want to use this word, should have, based on the technicals and some of the things that we were looking to see. However, I think that one of the reasons is we've kind of the ecosystem has moved so far and so fast that our culture is not yet adapted to being comfortable with what crypto is. The reason I know this is culture does not need to understand how crypto works in order to use it. But you ask people and they go, I don't even know how it works. And I say, okay, tell me how your credit card, the magnetic card on your credit card works. No freaking idea. But people are so used to it. It's so in their zeitgeist that they're okay with investing in that. And it's the same thing as starting to happen with crypto. So I think that's one of the parts of the fold. The other thing is there's so much uncertainty within institutions around investing in crypto, and therefore also within retail, where we have hope, but there's also so much uncertainty because there's no clarity from governments. There's no clarity about what the playbook is. Let me see if I can find it real quick as we're talking here. I have this post from Brian Armstrong, and he characterizes it absolutely perfect. Here it is right here. So I'm going to go to my chart. So it's this post right here. He said, today, Coinbase received a Wells notice from the SEC focused on staking and asset listings. A Wells notice typically precedes an enforcement action. And Dave Dennis, whoever this is, asked, can someone explain this in NFL terms? And this is perfect. This is why there's so much uncertainty in the markets. And Brian Armstrong, CEO of Coinbase, says, imagine you've got both a football team and both football and soccer refs on the field, but we're actually playing pickleball. Which is another sport. The refs can't agree on the rules of this new game, and then one of them decides to change a call they made back in April of 2021. This is what the crypto ecosystem is dealing with. I've seen Brian Armstrong reaching out, and both publicly and in private, he's made acknowledgement that they've been asking, what's the rule book? What should we do? Proactively seeking some sort of framework from that CFTC, from the SEC, from other government bodies. And then, as crypto starts picking up steam and you see banks starting to struggle, well, Gary Gensler is getting paid basically to go out there and throw any sort of, completely misaligned and I don't want to call it fraudulent, but
whatever
without
Fugazi,
merit.
whatever Fugazi,
Yeah,
rules they came up
Fugazi,
with.
FUBAR, without merit sort of, lawsuits towards, Binance and towards Kraken and towards Coinbase, because they're trying to continue that uncertainty. And so I think once we get a little bit clearer regulation in place, this all ties back to what I was saying earlier. Once we get a little clearer regulation in place and the metaphorical foot is being taken off the throat of the industry, I think we are going to have one more sort of super cycle that's going to definitely outperform the bull market that we just had in 2020, 2021. And, we're going to have something more in line with like somewhere between the 2015 and the 2017, 2018 sort of bull markets with all the new money coming in, because ETFs, because of pension funds, because of institutional. So it's just going to blow people out of the water. And I think we need to be aware of that, because although altcoins will explode and a lot of them will perform better than Bitcoin, I think we're kind of also ignoring the fact that I do think there's going to be an immense amount of liquidity that does pour into Bitcoin that doesn't go into altcoins because of the different risk on, risk off nature. So I do think it's important that we balance our portfolios.
I want to hit you with a follow-up question about the super cycle, but before I do that, I want everybody to smash those likes. Go follow them. If you're not following them, their links are down below in the description. And Piper, I want to ask you first before we jump into the super cycle topic, is talk to me about Matic, man. Because I'm extremely bullish on Matic. I see that Matic has been doing a lot of things in the background, a lot of partnerships. What do you got for Matic?
So I'm very bullish on Matic too. And
is that your chart pulled up?
No, that's another one. I was just I'm looking at trades. I got like 5 trades going right now, but I could pull up Matic. Right now, Matic is literally hitting right now off its golden pocket. A lot of people are bearish on Matic because one, it's played out. Like everyone knows what Matic is. It's had its fun and everything, but it's the closest pretty much out of any crypto to its all-time high. Which means, one, it may not have too far to go up this cycle, but it also means that it held better than almost everything else in the market. I chalk a lot of that up to their marketing team. They have an amazing marketing team. But when you look here, and I can even take off, let me pull off this fib retracement that I have on here. And I'll just show you. I mean, so like right now, even off of this current range that we're in right here, which we started into this range back in March, the 7th of March. So these predictive ranges, how they normally work is about 70% of all activity occurs between the 2 gold trade bands. This is your upper resistance and your lower support. So when you look at where we are right now, yeah, we could, easily come down to like 85 cents, depending on what's going on, obviously, with Bitcoin and the rest of the alt market. But we would still be above our trade band for this. If you actually look at how it's going right now on the structure, I would say that we're more likely to bounce on the delta here and then go back up, break our frame, and go into a whole nother line of predictive ranges over here. I'm very bullish on Matic just simply because of the fact that layer 2 ZK rollups, mind you, a lot of stuff coming out on ETH right now, and I'm tracking that. You can go ahead and pull off on the chart. I'll just talk because I got a lot of talking points here. They have great marketing. Fantastic marketing. So I know that. And I know that they don't have very far to go up to hit their all-time high in comparison to everything else. But at the end of the day, their ZK roll-up, it's what everybody's comfortable with using. Arbitrum easily could be its big competitor for layer 2 solutions to Ethereum price and gas fees. But I'm not overly concerned about something that people don't like to change too often. When people find something that works and they're comfortable with something, that's what they're going to go with, right? So, which is why it's going to be like what Kelly was talking about. It's going to be very difficult for people to offer it fiat unless it's something that is easy for them and consistent, right? People have found easiness and consistency in Polygon Matic. It's proven itself time and time again. It cuts down on fees. There's a lot of things on it that, even though it's a layer 2, it's got a lot of layer 1 features, that other layer 1s are trying to do. And it's just doing it all on Ethereum as a layer 2.
And ridiculous partnerships.
Yes.
Ridiculous partnerships.
Yes. That's the marketing piece. Yeah. They get Disney, they get Nike, they get, I'm waiting for them to come up, be the new face of like, Cheerios or something. Cheerios by Polygon Matic. It's good for your heart and your gas fees.
It's going to be the new Wheaties box.
Right? Something. But I'm very bullish on Matic. I think Matic's going to do great. I don't think that the fact that it's that close to its last all-time high is that big of a threat to it. How I look at my portfolio, mind you, I do have it listed as one of my higher reward to risks, just because it is so close to its all-time high. Arbitrum squeezed its way in there, and I have about an 1/8 of the amount of Arbitrum is what I have in Polygon Matic. But so
I want to fully understand. I have a quick question. So you're saying that even though Polygon's almost, is pretty high up there compared to its previous all-time high, you don't think that's going to be a problem for the next cycle, that it could still blast through that and have a massive move, or you're saying the opposite?
No, I'm saying it's going to blast through that and have a good move. Yeah, I wouldn't be in it if I didn't think that. And that's mainly what I'm saying there is because so many people have used it for so long, they know it works.
Yes.
So, it's why change if it ain't broken, don't fix it, right? So,
yeah, and they have a huge market share in the layer 2 solutions when it comes to Ethereum, right? It's like even though Arbitrum came out, you know, they have to do a lot of grinding to gain confidence and gain market share in there. And it's okay to have competition. Just because Polygon now has competition doesn't mean it's a bad thing, right? It's always good to have you know, a Costco and a BJ's, right? The competition makes the products better, and it forces Polygon to be like, hey, we got it, we can't be slacking, right? These people are going to catch up to us.
Absolutely. Every great company in American capitalism history has had a competitor that forced it to be that big. Yep. So yes, absolutely. And in the chat there is Crux of Crypto saying, someone show me Matic on the official Ethereum website. Yeah, that's the buddy of mine that I was telling you about that I'm constantly debating with. Him and I have our own personal debate crypto life going. So
yeah, man, I'm super bullish on Polygon. I believe that they're doing amazing things. Everyone was very worried about Polygon after the ETH merge. What are they going to do? What use case are they going to really have? Well, clearly everyone can see that with the ETH merge was not enough, right? It's not enough to keep Ethereum going. Gas fees have been steadily rising since last year. I know we started our NFT project, Danger Close Alpha, last year. Gas fees were like $3, $4, $5 at best, right, on a bad day. Now gas fees are, you know, they're a lot higher. They're like 40, 50 gwei on a regular basis now. Before you could see like 10 gwei, 8 gwei, you know, something like that, really easy. Polygon is needed for Ethereum to continue growing, right? Ethereum is going to have a lot of growing pains. It's been having a lot of growing pains, and layer 2 solutions like Polygon are going to consistently be needed moving forward. The merge is not enough to boot out Polygon.
Yeah, your beard's going to be gray before Polygon Matic is irrelevant to the Ethereum network, man.
I can feel the grays. I don't know if it's for the time or just it was the stress.
That's the SEC.
The SEC.
Blame Gary.
and speaking of all these layer 2s, you know, one of the things that one of the projects that I've also been looking at pretty heavily, and I've been stacking a lot in, you know, towards the end of the bear market, even on these dips, I'm still acquiring as the graph GRT, because looking at infrastructure plays, and, you know, if we are moving more digital, which we are, and we do see this explosion in blockchain technology and growth in the industry, then we are going to need a way not only to have interoperability, you know, which you can get through something like Atom or Dot, but also ways to very quickly be able to organize the data between these various chains. So, you know, looking here at GRT, this is on the 3-day chart. I have two different trend lines here. We're kind of trapped in between this zone right here, but we can also see, if I go to auto, we can also see this kind of got rejected here and came right back to this sort of this Fibonacci golden pocket, which was also perfectly on this trend line. And so once we work our way back up into this zone here, basically around just shy of 16 cents, you know, there's a lot. I mean, there's a big moves up. I mean, the next move up from here would be, you know, the previous high, which is roughly about 30%, and then, you know, continuing on, it's a basically 109% move up to this previous previous support low here. And then once we get above that, I mean, it's all the way. I mean, it's a 2,100%. 2,140% basically gain just to get back to all-time high, and it's got such, you know, kind of behind the scenes, not well marketed, but behind the scenes excellent partnerships and utility amongst other groups and protocols, and also institutions that are outside of blockchain that are, you know, utilizing, you know, because the truth is there's going to be a lot of institutions out there. They're not just going to settle with AVAX or with Polygon or with Ethereum. There's just like any of us, you know, when I go to a store, I don't go to one store for everything. I go to, a pharmacy. I go to a grocery store. I go somewhere else to get my oil changed. I go somewhere else to buy digital technology. Same thing is going to be happening with protocols. And in order to organize that stuff, organize the different information that we're going to need access to, and people are going to want this access very quickly, all this stuff happens through databases, and protocols are essentially large decentralized ledger databases. And the graph is basically a protocol that is able to, basically help do that efficiently, to go through and categorize and index. If people aren't familiar with what indexing is, think of searching for something on Google or searching for something on Bing or Yahoo. That's essentially a third-party data aggregator that goes through and indexes information that's available of different information that's on the web. That's essentially what the graph is doing. So this is it's a smaller smaller percentage position within my portfolio. It's too many P's in that sentence. But I see it as something that, could be a 3 to 5% percentage of my portfolio now. But with the potential gains in this, into the next bull run, it might end up becoming on its own without me trading it because I'm well positioned. It might end up growing into something that's like 15 or 20% of my portfolio, because I do see something like this having huge gains in the future because of that strong infrastructure play that it is.
Dude, 100%, right? Like the graph is one of those that, it's not a low cap gem or anything, but it's one of these altcoins that doesn't really get a lot of exposure. Not a lot of content creators talk about it. Not a lot of marketing is done for it, but it's doing a lot in the background. And a lot of people forget about that. A lot of people just focus on the marketing, focus on what content creators are talking about, and they're not really following up on the fundamentals of some of these projects. And they kind of get left for the waste for in the background. And then the next bull run happens, and they're like, where did this come from? I've never even heard of the graph. Why was nobody talking about this? Right. Yeah. And it's one of those things that people need to be aware of, that just because it has good marketing doesn't mean it has good fundamentals. And just because there's no marketing doesn't mean it doesn't have fundamentals. Sometimes it has a lot more fundamentals than what marketing has. And you'll see it eventually just pop off out of nowhere and then be completely caught off guard. But Piper, do you have any other altcoins that you're keeping an eye on right now? That
I do. You just triggered a thought in my head talking about the unknown of graph, right? So I have a 23-year-old kid. My kid's old. I'm old, okay? But I will tell you, there's not a day that goes by that I don't see him or my neighbors or even myself walking around, headphones on, jamming out to music. Music I think is going to be a big front for crypto.
Yep. I think I know where this is going.
We're going to audio. We're going to talk audio token. I think audio tokens, one of those ones that people that are not overly familiar with the crypto workspace are going to pop up here in the next year and a half and go, what is this Web3 place sound system that I'm listening to here? It's Spotify. I got Spotify. No, we don't use Spotify no more, bro. I'm gonna be that guy going, we don't use Spotify no more, bro. That's sus, So no, audience token, I'm telling you, it's I think that I do. I am old, bro. I am old, but I am in the crypto deep. And my 78-year-old dad has more graph than I have, just so you know, Kelly.
You calling me old? I got an old spirit, baby.
No, I'm just saying my 78-year-old dad is hip to graph. I think everybody should be there now. When you look at where music's going, you've got all of these people out here that, the artists are tired of paying, do all blood, sweat, and tears into a song just to turn around and make 10% on the returns of their album. And then they're in debt. I mean, every movie you've seen for the past 5 years about an artist has been about them having to go on world tour so they can actually make some real money because it's nothing to music, right? I think that as time goes on, the artists are going to be breaking away from that. We've already seen movies start to break away and go into the blockchain. I think we're going to see a lot of the artists break away and go into the blockchain. And I think Audius is where it's going to be at. They're working on a Web3 version of Spotify. The artists get all of their money directly paid to them. There's no middleman taking everything. There's none of the capitalism or the corporation, saying, well, that's not a good enough song. I mean, how many times have you watched your artist come out? They have this amazing first album, second album, the record label was all up in their business and they've lost every bit of style, class, and sound that they have in that album. I think we're going to get better music out of it. I think the artists are going to get better paid, and I think you're going to have more diversity into the music space. And I think Audius is going to be the backbone that's going to lead music into the new era of blockchain. So
yeah, Keeper 100% agrees with you on that as well. Audius is one that I haven't been tracking a lot, but he's been telling me a lot about Audius for a long time.
Come on, Crusader, get on it.
Yeah, dude, he's also a big music lover. I'm kind of musically retarded, so I don't follow along too much with it. But he's been a big supporter of Audius. He's mentioned it a lot of times throughout the years as well in the last 2 years that we started making content. So yeah, I can agree with you on Audius and audio definitely making a move, right? We're seeing music NFTs, we're seeing a lot of music things coming to the blockchain. And I'm not 100% familiar with what Audius does in depth with their technology, but if they're focusing on that and there's no real other competitors out there, then they're definitely, it's only a matter
Well,
of
let
time.
me put it this way: in a life long ago, long ago, I was a touring singer songwriter. So
I
I
saw
feels
some of
like
those pictures on Twitter, man. I saw some some of those pictures on Twitter.
yeah, yeah, it's so long ago. It feels like it's a distant dream. I feel like when I think about it, I'm thinking of like a rerun of a TV show or something. It's so, but yeah, I did that, and so I got, and then following that, I toured. I mean, I toured nationally as a singer songwriter. Then I toured nationally and internationally as a DJ for about 15 years, and so I got a lot of experience with music industry, and essentially. What's interesting about audio in audios is, and specifically with NFTs, that I think a lot of people miss, is that they see NFTs and they think this is ridiculous. Why would a picture of a monkey go for 400,000 or a picture of a rock go for $1 million? And what they're failing to realize is the fact that what those are is not that the art is cool. And what they are, it was culture shock for one, that you could have digital ownership. And so what they were was interesting new proofs of concept. And with audio, what it's done is rather than having an album, and people don't realize this, whether it's Garth Brooks or name an artist, there's a lot of artists out there that will sell 2 million albums, and they'll only make, $80,000 because all the money goes to the record label and they make all their money on tour. Whereas with not only individual audio tracks or the album cover, or even if you think of NFTs by themselves, the art itself, what's interesting about it is it's when you sell it, whether you're selling the rights to the album or you're selling individual, the right to streaming, it's perfectly tracked, and you can prove who owns it, and the money automatically gets distributed to the owner. And if it's resold, then you can have that part of the smart contract that, say I buy the rights to your album, Crusader, then I could, basically you could have some agreement for some percentage of all the streaming revenue that I drive. But then when I want to sell the rights to that album, then you still get a cut of that sale because you are the creator of it.
Yep.
So you're able to really keep track of it. Are either one of you familiar with this artist named Rodriguez? So there's this art, you got to watch this documentary if you haven't. It's called Searching for Sugar Man. I think it's on Netflix or somewhere else. But this artist essentially was ahead of his time. He was like a Bob Dylan, just as good, just as well recognized. I mean, the music was phenomenal back in the 60s and 70s. And unfortunately, it was during a time where there was a pervasive racism within here in the U.S., especially in business and commercial music and all this kind of stuff. And people wouldn't even, radio stations wouldn't even play his album because they're like, Rodriguez, what is this Tejano music? Just because his cultural ignorance and just stupidity. And so he essentially just disappears off the face of the planet. And somebody over in South Africa had come across this record, and this basically had bootlegged it. And then turns out that somehow he became like an absolute pop culture icon in South Africa. He didn't even know it. He was working construction, living in a single apartment. And so some kid in college goes to write a paper on this guy everybody knew who Rodriguez was in South Africa. So they go and track this guy down, and they're like, hey, yeah, do you want to come and play some shows? He's like, he hadn't played music in 30 years. He goes to South Africa and plays like a 6 or 7 sold out arena show, like tour. And he had made no money off the millions of albums that were sold in South Africa because there's no way to track ownership of all these things. There was no way from the bootlegging. So fast forward to where we're at today, this is why NFTs are cool, not because of some crazy art thing. Why is it worth this much? It looks like an art image from Atari in 1982. That's not what it's about. It's about the provability of ownership of an individual asset, no matter what that asset is. So I think, for that reason, I think audio and Audius is amazing. And for that reason, also, NFTs are nothing to joke around about. And if you're not interested in the art, get interested in the rails that they're transacting on, whether it's Polygon, Tezos, Ethereum, whatever it is. It really is going to be a driving force of blockchain development over the next 20 years.
100% agreed on that. I mean, the technology of NFTs have definitely shaken things up in the crypto space and forever be changed because of those exact reasons that you just mentioned right there. So closing out the show, final words to the people. Where can the people find you? Piper, go ahead.
I'm on Investing Bros and I'm over with Chart Prime. So I'm on 2 different channels over there. Investing Bros with the Z, with Tim Warren, TA Tim and T-Shroom. And then Chart Prime, we're doing a lot of educational stuff over there with the company that we're working with. So, just like Kelly Kellum, he's a busy man too. So he gets it. And my closing words, I have to be the devil's advocate here against the Crusader and your stance with XRP, but XRP Army, I think if they win the SEC case, I think that they are going to be the highest reward to risk asset on the market right now.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, I think there's a very no way to measure it, coiled up spring of bullish pressure once that little pin on the grenade gets pulled. I think it's not gonna be a grenade, it's gonna be a nuclear just bullish explosion. So yeah,
you guys think that quick so before we even close out the show. So with that stance, do you guys think that the XRP SEC law suit can be the catalyst for the next bull run, or regardless, it doesn't matter?
I do. Go ahead, Kelly.
I was going to say, I think just like anything, I think it's going to be one of many ingredients. And anybody that does technical analysis will tell you I don't know if there's some other force in the world, whether it's God or magnetism or the art of the holy donut. I don't know what it is, but somehow big news comes out, not out of nowhere. Big news comes out somehow when price action is perfectly coiled into the most tightest, and so when that last little bit happens, it explodes. And it's not just going to be XRP case closing. It might be money printers coming back on. There might be some delay in when they announce it, that it does coordinate. There's no way to tell, but I do think it's going to be one of the ingredients of the catalyst for strong movement in the space, for sure.
Totally agree.
Piper?
Totally agree. I think everything is going to be right at there at the point of moving. I think that Bitcoin is going to be just sucking liquidity out of the TradFi world. And right about that time is when we're going to see the SEC come out with dirty Gary Gensler hanging his head of shame and going, yeah, I thought I could get these guys. And hey, if you think that one's hard, wait till you get done with Brian Armstrong over there in Coinbase. You're going to really be looking for a new job at that point. But I think that catalyst, along with the Bitcoin movement, I think the rails are going to be greased, and I'm looking forward to 2025. Maybe.
All right, so let's crazy follow-up question for the both of you before we close out the show. What is your craziest price prediction for XRP? Right, I've heard $50,000 buyback.
You got to give a time frame.
Huh?
You got to give a time frame.
Let's say by the end of the next bull run, right? The catalyst, the SEC, assuming that the case is over. Right, that they have won, they have the whole bull run to ride it all the way to the top. What is the craziest price point that you could see XRP hitting? I've heard a lot of crazy numbers from the community. What do you guys think?
Well, rather than just do the craziest number, I'll do I think a realistic number. I think let's say towards the end of 2024 into 2025. Being that there's good news coming out of the lawsuit, or it's finally fully settled.
Yeah, good news.
Somewhere between the $13 to $17 range.
What about you, Piper?
So I want to remind people that if you go back and you watch news, go on YouTube, look for a news clip of pre-XRP Ripple lawsuit, and you'll see that every time they talked about Bitcoin, they talked about Ripple, XRP, and Ethereum. Every time. I think that you can realistically look at XRP in this next run and see $30 plus on the next cycle. So,
big numbers. I hope the XRP community is watching, is excited. That's awesome, dude. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, that is crazy stuff. But anything's possible, right? XRP. I'm not a believer of the XRP technology or whatever, but it doesn't mean that I will deny the potential it has in price growth, because not just of the community that they have, but because of the connections that they have, the World Economic Forum, right? All the banking connections, like they are highly connected into the whole grand scheme of, you know, what is happening in the financial system. So definitely don't doubt the potential of big numbers.
22% this past week in gains on XRP from their community, just because of the hope of SEC winning. If SEC loses, or SEC losing. If the SEC does lose, 22% is nothing. Strap in, LFG.
All right, guys, you guys heard it here. XRP to the moon, right? So make sure you guys always question everything, trust nothing, and until next time, hodl like it's hot. See you guys.